Welcome, everyone, to Watch Challenge. On each episode, we challenge ourselves to find and watch a film of a particular type and then report back the results to each other and you fine listeners as well. My name is Aaron Spears.
And I'm Mike Wendt. This episode listener suggested challenge is Midnight Movies, and it was submitted by James S. And James gave us a list that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But boy, Aaron, this is, I think, for both of us, it's in our wheelhouse. This
Yeah.
is something that we are definitely drawn to as movie lovers and watchers.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes when I started brainstorming, I was like, oh, this is definitely a part one topic because this is one that we'll need revisited probably a few times. I guess the starting point, Mike, is like, do you remember like literally like your first midnight movie, like going to see a movie? So maybe we need to define that first, should we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because this, to me, I really hadn't thought about it before James suggested this, but in my head, I do have a delineation of like cult film, midnight movie. Like these are all different genres in my head, and I really hadn't kind of articulated it ahead of James submitting this topic.
Yeah, I will always associate certain like midnight movie, cult movie. I think Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Like that's like I think at least around here in the Cleveland area, it's like a rite of passage. You have to go at least once in your life to the Cedarly to watch Rocky Horror Picture Show the first Saturday of the month.
Of any month, yeah.
Yeah, and that it's just it basically what we mean by, or what I mean by that is like you have a mix of young, old, scantily clad, fully clothed,
Costumed.
Yes, and it's like multicultural. It's everything, and you're collectively watching this movie. Yelling at the screen, throwing things, and singing along, and just having a good time. And I think that kind of encompasses what it means to enjoy going to a midnight movie. It's like a gathering of friends, seeing something you might have seen many times over, but it still always feels fresh and unique when you get that collective group to see it.
Yes. So are you saying theatrical experience for this?
I would say so, but also, I mean, it could also, I know we're in the beginning of school year, so like you can easily equate this to friends in a, maybe newly formed, forced friendships when you move into like a college dorm or something.
Oh,
like
sure, yeah.
And then you start to like figure out quickly who matches your personality type.
Yeah.
And sometimes like you'll have maybe an RA or something suggest watching a movie together, and like I think you quickly kind of figure who those are your people.
Yeah.
The Statler and Waldorfs in the back of the room or something. I don't know.
Yeah. For sure. No, I definitely had in my notes too, like the going with your crew at midnight to a theater and experiencing that. Ideally with, a packed auditorium. You don't want to just go with like 4 other people. Like you want the big collective experience with that. But that said, you made a comment at the end of the last episode about midnight movies that I took to heart too, because I was like, oh no, I have very specific titles that fit what you're saying. And you said kind of what you're saying with moving into college or just a group situation of watching it, but like those ones that you pass around with your friends, like, holy shit, you got to watch this.
Oh,
or
yes.
you got to sit down right now and watch this with me, or in the group there, that one that you're compelled to, you got to share it. Like, and you don't want to spoil it necessarily. You want to like, oh no, we got to experience this together. Like we need to all share this right now. So I kind of took that to heart too. And a little bit more with my list was, I have some aspirations. Like I haven't seen my main pick. I have not seen in a theatrical setting, but oh my God, I want to see this in a theatrical setting with a group, because I just think it's dynamite, which brought me around to a point that I think I need to have if to consider it a midnight movie that's a little different than a cult movie. And that is this is very vague sounding, but like a kick-ass ending. Like it doesn't have to
Yes.
be like a reveal, like a Hitchcockian thriller or an M. Night Shyamalan. Like what? That's what was going on this whole time. But like, and I didn't pick this one, and I'm debating if it's in one of these categories. But like Blair Witch Project, like
Oh
that
yeah.
ending, it's done, and you're just like, what? And you all just look at each other like, what did we just experience? Like, I want that vibe at the end.
Yeah. Well, you're right though. I think the thing with that, and this is maybe a side topic, but it was the marketing of that film made it
Oh yeah,
seem real. Like
yeah,
they made you convinced that this was a real incident that happened, and
hmm
that this footage just happened to be found, and there was the whole Sci-Fi Channel special
yep,
that added to the allure, and that's what made that thing such a cultural phenomenon.
right.
I think that I'll admit I was not 17, but I was 16. I snuck into that movie theater. I
Yep.
had to see this because it was like everything, like everybody was talking about
Yeah, and then you're in your car heading to Maryland as soon as those credits hit because you gotta gotta
it.
go to those woods. But maybe not that type of ending like on a culturally impactful like that's a rare bird of a movie. But like that, you know what I mean by that ending though. Like it's gotta like everybody just looks around and is just like, what?
Yeah,
Holy cow! And then you're compelled to talk about it, or like I said, you're compelled to share it as well.
absolutely.
So with our kind of defined midnight movie out of the way, do you have like a memory like first midnight movie?
I think probably my first was going to Rocky Horror, which I know is like, maybe it's a cliche at this point,
No.
uh, but I had not much not much like knowledge of it, only just knowing the Time Warp song
Hmm.
and just the image of Tim Curry.
Yep.
Uh, and because yeah, I'm trying to. I think it was like my senior year of high school because
Okay.
I was a drama kid.
Same
So
here.
and it's like one of those things that like I think one of the weekends where we didn't have like play rehearsal or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like we should go do this, and it was a blast.
Oh yeah.
And I think that really kind of instilled some of the love for having those shared experiences like that.
Um. So since you went first, I'm going to cheat a little bit. My first was
Sure.
also Rocky Horror Picture Show. I feel like we can just say like, okay, midnight movies category for this podcast. The goat is Rocky Horror. Like it's
Yeah,
just there. It's in
yeah,
gold. That is the one. And I did the same thing. I think it was the weekend before our first performance of a play. A good chunk of the cast was like, "We're going up to Rocky Horror," because we got dress
yeah,
rehearsals next weekend, like this Friday or this Saturday night. We're going. So we did that as a pilgrimage, and it was amazing. It sticks with me. I did have a theater when I was in college. I went down to Wright State University in Dayton, and there was a theater that was there at the time called Page Manor that was like a dollar theater, but they
yeah.
had a midnight like a calendar that came out, kind of like the Cinematheque does up here in Cleveland, and they showed midnight movies. I want to say my memory's probably not that good at this point for that era of my life, but I feel like it was every weekend. So like every Friday night at midnight, we were down there watching whatever. Like it was on the calendar. We never heard of it. I don't give a shit. Like that's how
Sure.
I just walked into Evil, not I almost said Evil Dead. That's how I walked into Dead Alive. Like, I don't know, it's a midnight movie. Let's go see it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this movie? Um, but they showed the welcoming week when all the freshmen got down there. They showed Dazed and Confused, and so we went down and
Oh,
watched Dazed and
yeah.
Confused, and it was teenagers running this theater. Like they didn't give a shit. People were smoking weed and drinking in the theater. People were playing air guitar in front of the theater or in front of the screen when like the Sweet Emotion kicks on in the beginning. Like it
Yes.
was just one of these like I will never experience that again that way. But I'd seen it ahead of time, obviously. Days Confused
Sure.
was a staple in my life by that point in time. But that was one of those like that is an experience.
Yeah, one of those like college things that where Donnie Darko had came out just a few years before,
Yeah.
but that was like one of those underground DVD pass along that just because it like basically didn't have much of a theatrical release because it was some of the subject matter. It was released right before or right after 2001,
Hmm.
or September 11th. So it kind of got buried. But then that was one where it's like, in college, like almost everybody we learned had it. And then it was playing one of the times it was either Cinematheque or Cedar Lee, and it was just like it was like yes, getting to see it in its theatrical form.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm jumping ahead to certain pick kind of things, but I don't know. Just there's so many great experiences
Yeah, yeah.
of experiencing some of these movies in their theatrical form.
Yeah. No, I mean, like with Rocky Horror, as like we said, that's the GOAT. It's up there. That counts. So Daisy Confused was an early one for me. You're going with Donnie Darko.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Johnny. Yeah.
So before we do, no, actually, this kind of ties in with honorable mentions. We wanted to do, we do our honorable mentions, a couple picks each, then we do our official picks. But since James took the time to put together a list and send to us of what he considers to be midnight movies, we wanted to each take just a moment to be like, let's pick something off of his list and be like, okay, yeah, that's one that I'm including in my honorable mentions for this particular one. I'm going to go with, and we'll link to James's list. It's a public list he made on Letterboxd. The link's in the show notes if you want to check out his list there. I'm going to go with the 1972 Ralph Bakshi Fritz the Cat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen that one, Mike.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have never watched this one with sober eyes. I'll just put that out there, but it is definitely, it hits all of the buttons, including some hyper offensive buttons as well, that we just sort of talked about. The thing on Letterboxd, the description for it is a swinging, hypocritical college student cat raises hell in a satirical version of the 1960s. And I believe this also was a rated X film when it came out. I actually have the DVD around the corner from where I'm recording right now. I don't remember how it's labeled on the DVD there, but it's one of those on my shelf because I also have two children living in the house. I don't have it spine out because I don't want them just like, oh, what's this one? So it's in backwards, but I know where it's at on that one. But that one is definitely one of those. If you just watch it by yourself, you're going to be looking around like, I need to experience this with somebody. Like this can't just be a solo thing.
Yeah, I'll have to go with 2003's The Room. It is anybody who knows me knows I absolutely adore that film.
Oh yeah.
I was at the first public screening of that here in Cleveland, where there was probably about 10 of us, and then it started to grow from there.
Mm-hmm.
Each month there were more people, started to bring more. It's one of those things when you look on the Letterboxd, and if you've never heard of The Room, I'll give a quick. Johnny is a successful banker with great respect and dedication to the people of his life, especially his future wife, Lisa. The happy-go-lucky guy sees his world fall apart when his friends begin to betray him one by one.
That's the description for that movie?
Yes.
I've never looked that up. I've seen that movie countless times. I did not remember that he's a banker.
Well, to show the disparity of the views on this movie, where it looks like the Letterboxd ratings are, you have a bunch of 5s and then you have an almost equal number of 1s. There's not a lot of in between.
Fair enough.
But so it, on a lot of levels, yes, it is. Is it a bad film? Probably. But
indubitably.
Yes, but I just really adore it. There's certain lines I always look forward to, and I unfortunately missed it when it got played recently. The Cedar Lee brought it back, but I will hopefully be at the next one.
Since you brought it up, I got to ask, because I'm one of the people on Letterboxd. I gave it 1 star, but a heart because I love the movie. Were you a 5 star and a heart, or?
Oh, 5.
Okay.
5 out of 5.
Fair enough, man.
But watching it by myself is not as fun.
Nope. Not at all. Mike, before I ask you about your honorable mentions, I wanted to mention a quick documentary, because we've done that before when we did like Ozploitation and Blaxploitation. Every once in a while, there's documentaries that cover the topic that we have for the show. And there's one that I ran across that is on Canopy. It's actually a 3-part one. I didn't look at the running time, maybe like an hour each. Maybe it's feature length. It's called Time Warp. And part 1 is called Midnight Movies. It's free on Canopy. I think it might even be on YouTube as well. But it's just a full, it covers even like, Coffee, Rocky Horror Picture Show, The Harder They Become. Kind of what we're talking about is like this midnight experience, El Topo, that sort of stuff. So there is a documentary out there if you want one of those great kind of like introductory to the topic and give you a pretty sizable list of movies to go find.
Oh my
Time
God.
Warp is out there, and part one is specifically midnight movies. So
I love it.
just want to throw that out there. But Mike, what have you got for honorable mentions for midnight movies?
So I know like many of the midnight movies are, probably, you could consider 70s or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
kind of went with some from the 90s. But Troll 2 is one of my honorable mentions. It is a very fun, very stupid movie. But it's one of those. It's another one that just makes me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it's about a family that goes to this town that's called Nilbog, and
Sorry, forgot some of these details.
um, and they start slowly the family one by one starts to turn into this they start turning into these trees uh and there's this like there's a special milk and everything. I mean, I'm not once again, I'm not explaining it super great, but it is it's very fun, and it's a quick movie. Actually, I think it's like under 90 minutes, but it's only heightened if you partner it with the documentary called Best Worst Movie,
Mm-hmm.
which is was made by the young child actor who thought he was getting his big break in the film industry, and for years was mortified for being in this really terrible low budget movie, which has nothing to do with the first Troll, which stars Julia Louise Dreyfus.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
in one of her first roles. Yes, yes.
Interesting.
But yeah, they're not connected. And then there's even a third movie that I had seen, which is it's like a sequel to Troll 2. It was a German language film, but dubbed into the U.S. And that one's it's not even that connected either. It's even worse. Um, but yeah, the Troll 2 lure canon is a
Yeah.
fun ride to take if you want
And apparently anybody can just grab the mantle and do a Troll 4 at any point if they want to as well.
Yes.
Oh man, I had forgot about that one. That is I actually did get to see that one in a theater, and that was an absolute riot in the theater. I have one honorable mention. Actually, kind of in my head, both my honorable mentions. I really enjoyed James's list a lot, and I thought I'm going to put together a couple honorable mentions to submit to him that like I think these could be on the list
Sure.
based on kind of how we've been describing them. Um, one of them I have not seen in the theater, and one of them I have seen in the theater, so I can tell you that one of them works. The one that I have not seen in the theater that I'm not sure anybody would agree with me that works, but is very near and dear to my heart because I watched this endlessly on VHS when I was a kid, is Hudson Hawk from 1991.
Amazing.
Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello are cat burglars. Hudson Hawk just gets out of jail. That's Bruce Willis. And instead of setting, their stopwatches like their Navy SEALs when they rob a place, they do the even more subtle trick of singing classic, kind of like doo-wop songs in their out loud. Because when you're sneaking around, you really want to be singing "Swinging on a Star," so that nobody will know that you're robbing them. It's got Sandra Bernhard and Richard E. Grant as these uber wealthy folks who are trying to steal. Who cares? It's an animated movie, but it's live action.
Yes.
It's completely wild. Andy McDowell's in there. James Coburn's in there. David Caruso, if you look closely, is in there. It's it's a bonkers movie. The sound effects clearly tell you that it should have been animated, but it's not. It was Bruce Willis at like I don't know if that's kind of peak powers. This is 91. It's post Die
Yeah.
Hard, post Moonlighting. Like if he's in your movie, it's getting made. And he also co-wrote this movie. I think if we look up the timeline, I don't know when the Return of Bruno, the album of music that Bruce Willis put out, it's got to be in this vein because he is singing his ass off in this movie. Like he
Oh
really wanted to
yeah.
sing.
Yeah. Oftentimes on the 80s Sirius channel, Respect Yourself by
Oh,
your Bruce Willis will
Bruce,
come
yeah.
on. That's like a pull down the windows and just crank up the volume
Yeah,
kind
sing along. But I think Hudson Hawk is definitely so bad it's funny. Actually, I don't even think it's badly made. It's just the tone is so weird that people
Yeah,
you just be scratching your head and looking at your friends like sitting in the theater. I think because it's a comedy and it leans heavily into cartoon antics, I guess I would say that
yeah.
it would go over great with a crowd. I don't know how you'd get a crowd together in a theater to watch this because it's a kind of a hard sell, but I think it's a laugh riot. I think if Cool as Ice works, as you mentioned on our previous
Oh
episode,
yeah.
in a crowd in a theater, Hudson Hawk does too. Maybe make it a free screening just so people will come out and have some fun. But it's definitely one of those that's kind of got that what the fuck vibe to
Yeah.
it, but also with a crowd in a theater, you're gonna have yourself a really really good time. And at the end, you're just gonna be like, oh, what the hell did we just watch?
Right.
But you have any other honorable mentions, Mike?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a Basket Case. So this is a little, a horror film, kind of a weird oddity, and it's definitely in the in the vein of like the underground New York films, where this man has a twin brother that lives in a basically he's like a conjoined twin, but is in this basket. And anytime the like he's like kind of a flattened person,
Okay.
evil little creature. And the brother is just trying to live his normal life, but anytime he has a love interest, or any person that like a landlord or a coworker that does the brother wrong, the the little guy comes and kills them. But it's by Frank Henenlotter, who did he did quite a few number of kind of B horror films. um, but it's definitely worth the watch, and it's great with a crowd. Last year, the Cinematheque played a new 4K restoration of it, and it was quite a bit of fun. But I also got to see it with the 12 Hours of Terror that is
Oh, that's a good
always.
way to see it. Yeah.
And that's like the diehard of the diehard horror fans. But
Oh, yeah.
it's definitely it's got everything that you want in that kind of movie. Boobs, blood, and a lot of gore. Yeah,
I thought you were going for another B word there.
yeah, yeah,
Boobs, blood, and a basket. I don't know, but
yes,
yeah. I've never seen that one. I'll have to cue that up because we're heading into the Halloween season, and that one sounds like a good time.
yes.
Okay, this is a wild switch of gears, but my other honorable mention that I have for this particular episode is from 1982. It is Koyaanisqatsi,
Oh,
which is
yes,
actually a pretty surreal documentary. It's officially a documentary. For those of you who haven't heard of it or seen it before, it's Koy, Koyaanisqatsi. I can't spell the rest off the top of my head, but it doesn't start with a Q. It sounds like it should, but it's not. It's Koy. It's Godfrey Reggio's film. He specializes in a certain type of like, I guess I should say trippy documentaries.
yeah,
They're gorgeously shot. And Philip Glass, it's actually, sorry. So it's part of a trilogy. Philip Glass does the score to it. And this one is, I'm spacing on the name. I want to say it's like a specific Native American word. I don't know what tribe it belongs to, but it means like life out of balance.
mm,
And the whole documentary for Koyaanisqatsi is about like nature and humanity and how humanity tries to replicate nature, how humanity destroys nature, how nature is exploited by humanity, how nature takes back what it wants sometimes. It's very much, humanity is winning the war that maybe shouldn't be waging against nature. But it's all set to this like trippy Philip Glass score that gets like quicker, and there's like angelic choruses singing at some parts. There's grand overhead shots of like these lit up cityscapes. This is 1982, so like early 80s cities that like cross fade with like computer circuit boards and just shows you how
yeah,
like humans are replicating all these different patterns in nature. There's one segment that just I always remember it cross cuts fast motion footage of people coming down subway escalators and then it cross cuts that with hot dogs being made and how the meat tubes shoot down the same time. Like it's so wild that it's definitely one of those like I want to see it. I've seen it on the big screen. There was almost nobody watching it. It was maybe like 15 people watching it when I saw it on the big screen. I was living in Columbus at the time, and it's one of those. It's a trippy movie. It's one of those. If you, I mean, I don't recommend. I think acid would probably freak you out. But smoke a joint and go watch this movie. You just kind of be like, let it all just wash over you when it's done. You just be like, man, I got some thoughts.
Yeah, those are the three of them. I've always seen like the box or the posters, and I'm sadly I have not seen them, and I know I need to just because it's a good friend of mine, Robert Banks, local filmmaker, who he just always he's talked about those like countless times.
Yeah, no, there are ones that like once you see the first one, it sticks with you, and he explores different themes in the other ones. There's Koyaanisqatsi is the first one, then Powakatsi is the second one, and then Nakokatsi is the last one. I'm probably mispronouncing all of those, but the most recent one, Nakoikatsi, like Steven Soderbergh produced. I think it was like I can't remember the date, but it was a little bit more modern than 82 from our perspective right now in 2022. But it looked like humanity and war, and I was just like, it's just it's stuff you'd watch in film school because there is like obviously like an art film kind of level to it. But
Sure.
I don't want to talk anybody out of it because it's just trippy as fuck and just a great score, and you'll just be hypnotized for an hour and 45 minutes, and then when it's done, you'll just be looking at people around you being like, okay, so we all need to move into the woods, right? And just but do you have any other honorable mentions, Mike, or should we hop into our picks?
No, I think I'm ready to hop into it.
All right, what have you got for your official watch challenge pick for midnight movies?
All right, so I went on a couple different lists. I did closely look at James's, and James had some awesome picks on there that some of them, actually quite a few of them I haven't seen. But I found an IMDb list, which, I'll give you the link, Aaron, and
Okay.
you can include it. But, and then I also found an article that was the top 50 midnight movies of all time. So I went with something that I'd never really heard of and, a little obscure, and it's from 1971. It's called The Telephone Book.
Hello there. I'd like to talk to you very seriously for a moment about your beautiful tits.
What you are about to see can only be described as frank, adult entertainment.
I just can't tell you how busy I am.
I made dirty calls because I'm a creep.
It was only a phone call, but it was a work of art. What line of work are you in?
Perhaps the greatest stag movie star of all time.
What precisely does that image suggest to you?
State of Maryland.
You're really strange.
I was able to think out my problem and understand why I wanted to call up pretty girls and say, dick a lick.
Have you heard of this?
I don't think I have.
All right. So it is a very unique movie. It was at the time. It was rated X by the Motion Picture Association, and it recently got a release by Vinegar Syndrome, which is one of these. They're kind of like rescuers of exploitation movies from all decades, but especially more adult flavor, more like horror type films.
Mm-hmm.
But basically what this is about is you have a young woman who very much, I think it's by design, but she very much looks like Goldie Hawn, this like kind of like, gold or blonde, innocent sounding type
Mm-hmm.
who gets a call from an obscene caller, and she's immediately attracted to the man behind this phone call. And all he tells her is that his name is John Smith. So of course that leaves a lot of interpretation. So she starts going down the phone book, finding every John Smith, and it leads her on this like kind of Odyssey like journey where not every John Smith is a good person. um, but eventually it culminates into her and John Smith meeting, and it leads into this psychedelic animated sex scene.
Animated, you said?
Yes.
Okay,
So
I'm with you.
uh, I don't want to spoil a lot, but most of the movie is shot in black and white. So like stark contrast, black and white.
Okay,
So then when it eventually turns to this culmination scene, that's when it becomes color for the first time. And then
okay,
it also goes into this, like I said, this really trippy animated sequence. And some actors who are, who were just getting their start back then are in these like interstitial sequences, which is, it almost feels like a documentary at times where it's like people talking about their like, their different kinks and their kind of like sexcapades. So you have Jill Clayburn or Jill Clayburn plays a character in the film who's just known as Mask. Because she has like one of those like eye masks on most of the time. And then you also see a younger William Hickey who,
oh
he's from Christmas Vacation, and multiple other, many other films. But you see a younger him
yeah,
in one of these like kind of documentary type scenes. It's a very experimental, but ultimately kind of kinky.
yeah.
And it really I really enjoyed it. I would love to see it with the crowd. I mean, it's probably too obscure though to really draw a crowd. But the last little bit I will say about it is the poster and the Blu-ray cover of it that Vinegar Syndrome put out
Hmm.
has a very, it it has this like phone. I mean, it's a very like phallic looking phone, and you have the phone cords that look like balls on the side.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
Uh, it was definitely, I could see, maybe back then, like why people were drawn to it, because it's just kind of outrageous. It's like, but the actor who plays John Smith, you never see his face because he's wearing a pig mask. By the way, he has this voice that's like, it's the very soothing voice, but he's
Okay.
saying all these obscene like very sexual things to her. But I will say it was my wife caught me watching some of it, like in our bedroom, and she was like, "What the hell are you watching?" And I was like, "Just sit down, watch a little bit," and like she got invested into it. So yeah,
Nice.
it's a definite. It's a very interesting movie, I will say.
So did you get the disc from Vinegar Syndrome, or where did you see it?
I did not. I will. I think I might eventually buy it. I think the Cinema Wasteland's coming up, so maybe I'll I'll
Yeah,
just buy from them directly.
yeah.
But I basically found it on a site that showcases like hard to find films or something
Oh,
like that.
gotcha. Okay.
I don't even. I mean, it was kind of glitchy and buggy. It kept like doing these pop ups, but it was it was the best way for me to watch it.
Right. I think as collectors too, sometimes we're just like, I can't find it. Well, now I have to find, and then however you
Yes.
find it, you're just like, okay, but I'm going through this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, what did you end up picking?
So I went with actually that's interesting. I'm in the 70s as well. So I was doing the same thing, poking around midnight movies, this and that. And I ran across a few, which I maybe, I'll save for midnight movies part two, maybe. But I was kind of looking at people that I follow on Letterboxd to see what kind of ratings there were. And when I found this one, I'd meant to see it. I've meant to see it for a long time. I remember what the VHS cover looked like. And when I checked it on Letterboxd, most of the people I follow, it was like 3.5 or better. So I was like, okay, I feel like I'm in good territory here. So mine is from 1975. It's directed by L.Q. Jones, which probably is not familiar to anybody because this is one movie he directed. It's A Boy and His Dog.
Magnificently inspired. Richard Eder of the New York Times says, brilliantly grotesque. The Austin Sun. This may be the best science fiction film ever made. A Boy and His Dog. A film that has become a cult legend.
Right now I'm hungry and I want to get laid.
That's what you always say.
You go find a chick and I'll hustle us up some food.
I can't do good work when I'm hungry.
You ain't pulling that crap on me again. And you can shove that part about how you lost the ability to hunt for food when you learned how to talk.
No food, no females.
After World War IV, your dog will tell you what to do. How to laugh, how to love, how and who to kill.
That stupid broad.
You're so funny when you're sexually frustrated.
Damn it. Now, when the hell am I going to nail her in there?
Simple. Stop shaking like a leaf and go do it.
If you continue to find the food for your dog, he will find you a woman. He is the only one who can.
Give him the girl.
We stay. Now, you got any helpful suggestions?
Yes, pull up your pants, Romeo.
Oh, I've heard of this.
So I'd heard of this one. I knew it was set in like a post-apocalyptic wasteland or whatever. And if I remember correctly, the VHS box, even at the video store I used to work at way back when, I feel like it was just like a mushroom cloud or something.
Yeah.
Or some sort of design to it that like it wasn't just headshots and names of people that are in it. But this movie, so L.Q. Jones directed it. It's set in 2024. So obviously I'm going to be rewatching this movie in 2024 because, you have to. It's in a post-apocalyptic America. Really, it's a boy and his dog, but it's an 18-year-old. His name is Vic, played by a very, very young Don Johnson. And again, like that name not featured anywhere on the cover of the VHS box. Not that that would have gotten me to see it like way back when, but I would have been like, oh, there's a known actor here in this one. So that's not really played up too much at all, but it's he and his dog. But his dog is telepathic and can communicate and talk to him. And that's not a spoiler. Like that's the opening scenes. It's right there. The dog doesn't talk to anybody else, but it's also not weird apparently for anybody else in this movie to be like, oh yeah, he's talking to the dog. Like everyone's just like, yeah, okay. Like it's not a big deal at all. And it's kind of cut in two where so there's Vic and Blood. Blood is the name of the dog. So Vic and Blood, his boy and his dog, they're just in this post-apocalyptic wasteland, just desert, scrounging environment. And the dog can also sniff out where women are at. So Vic keeps the dog fed so he can sniff out women because he's an 18-year-old boy who wants to get laid all the time because he's an 18-year-old boy. Or man, I don't know how we would draw the lines there. I guess that'd be, an adult. But he looks like he's 15. It's a very young, Don Johnson, who post-apocalyptic is still pretty clean shaven. I don't think he can grow a beard yet. But this is also supposed to be in World War IV, after World War IV. So Blood telepathically keeps going over the history. So like the history of the Earth and the World War III and IV are in his memory, and he's just retelling the human to keep that memory kind of, I guess, an oral telepathic tradition alive. And they're eking out an existence. He gets some food. Then the dog helps him get laid. It's, a little cringy, some of those moments in there because you see how the other scavengers like own people and, they have women tied up in like a pit at this like outdoor movie theater. And like, you clearly know what's going on. This is not consensual stuff here, but it's not done in a really exploitative way at all.
Sure.
It's really kind of fascinating tonally because it's the most like happy-go-lucky. The word jaunty kept popping into my head when I heard the music cues in this movie because you're like, why is this so like jaunty and kind of happy-go-lucky? Like
a boy and his dog can go walking. A boy and his dog sometimes talk to each other.
And then he meets Susan Benton, who plays a character named Quilla. He meets her, saves her from like even worse people out there. They do start sleeping together. It's, it's not done in an erotic scene at all because they're in like an old furnace and the dog is next to them. I'm not really selling this very well at all. So she ends up bringing him, enticing him back to this underground civilization that she's part of, which is like, they call it Topeka, but it's all underground. And we get a Jason Robards in here as like basically the mayor of underground Topeka. So half the movie is above ground and half the movie is below ground. And this movie has an ending that is exactly what we were talking about. I'm obviously not going to spoil it, and you will not see this ending coming. And I'd heard like, oh my God, the ending. And I was like, oh, okay. And I'm waiting for it. And then like the movie just like, it worked its magic on me. I totally forgot I was waiting for this ending. And then the ending hits and I have one of those reactions. And again, I watched this by myself where I'm just like, who the fuck can I talk to about this movie? Oh my God. And it's not like M. Night Shyamalan or Hitchcockian or anything like that. It's just like, that is the perfect ending. Oh my God. I can't believe it stuck the landing. Oh, it's so good.
You sold me.
And now I'm hoping in 2024, it's coming up, a couple years away. I'm hoping somebody's like, hey, Cinematheque just showed Soylent Green this year, set in 2022.
Yes.
Boy and His Dog 2024. Here's hoping.
We'll start poking John to
start dropping hints. But it's really fascinating because it builds a really great post-apocalyptic world. Again, in 1975, it's pre-Mad Max, but it's that Mad Max like dusty, dirty roving bands of marauder, whatever kind of vibe. Very scrappy bit of filmmaking. I do want to mention L.Q. Jones, the director. We would know him as a very very famous character actor. I think I would put him in character actor territory. 165 acting credits from 55 to 2006. Mike, I think the first one that would come to mind would be he's the dude in the cowboy hat who convinces Robert De Niro in Casino to hire his like idiot nephew.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Makes about as much sense as tits on a board. Like he's got some like, little folksy cowboy kind of phrase in there. That's L.Q. Jones. He directed this one movie. He just passed away July 9th, 2022. So like just like over a month ago, passed away.
Oh.
Didn't even hear that he passed away. Like he's just like one of those actors. He's been around forever. He's been in like 50 movies you've seen, TV shows out the wazoo. He directed another movie in 64 called The Devil's Bedroom, which I'm definitely going to find.
Yeah.
But this is pretty much like his only real known out there directing credit.
I think that almost sounds like a future episode, one hit wonder director.
Ooh, yeah. I'll write that one down.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it out of the park, complete success, and couldn't recommend it highly enough. It's on Canopy, Hoopla. It may have been YouTube, I don't remember, but it's out there. And well, we got one of each, Mike. We got one you found on some sketchy website that hosts obscure films, and this one's out there for free if you have a library card.
Well, no, that's immediately going to one of the top of my list now.
Yeah. Watch it with somebody.
I've always heard of it, but just,
Yeah, same here. I was like, it wasn't even like floating around near the top of my list, but I'm like, what? I have always meant to watch that one. Holy crap. What other gold is out there?
Right.
So our official picks for midnight movies this round, we've got The Telephone Book from, what was that, Mike? You said 1971?
1971.
All right. And we have A Boy and His Dog from 1975. Many thanks, James, for the topic. Not just the topic, but also the list on Letterboxd. Again, we'll link to that in the show notes. Really got the interest going for me and watched a bunch of movies that I didn't even include to talk about on this episode. So we will definitely be coming back with part 2 of Midnight Movies at some point. But Mike, for now, what challenge do we have in front of us for next episode?
Up next is going to be Time Travel, which was submitted by Sarah. And we're always taking listener suggestions. Send any genre or topic that you want covered to watchchallengepodcast@gmail.com or follow the links in the show notes to hit us up on social media.
Sounds good, Mike. I'm looking forward to talking time travel. A favorite genre of mine. We'll see what we dig into and come up with. So until next time, folks, happy viewing.
Have a good one.